I don't know what to do. I have no answers. They're kicking me out of my hotel room because I asked them to wear an N95 mask. And they said that if I wanted that, I was at the wrong hotel and I had an hour to leave. I don't know where to go.
Hi everybody, okay. Oh, can you guys get back together just for the rest of the set? Oh, it seemed like you were breaking up. No.
No, we were asking.
Oh good, I want to hear the whole thing. What? For me not to be as sexist as the last guy. Okay. May I make an observation? Comedy might not be your thing. All right.
Hello, everyone. I have a question for you. Have you ever sat in an audience, ladies, and the person speaking to the audience addresses everyone as you guys? That's a big no-no. It's very important when addressing an audience, especially when there are male and females in the room, to always use a general term as everyone, or you may simply say, ladies and gentlemen. Never address an audience as you guys. Have you ever been in a meeting and the person says, hello, you guys. Hello, guys. That's not okay. So it is very important to be aware of how you address an audience. Do away with that word guys, because that's not appropriate.
Y'all ever go online and say something totally normal, like totally benign, and by the time you say it, people treat you like you committed some sort of hate crime? Guilty. If you've ever been on X, formerly known as Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, or even right here on YouTube, you know what I'm talking about. And it doesn't just happen online. Sometimes you're in a group setting. It could be where you're talking about politics or religion or anything that's like a hot button issue, and then all of a sudden you're in trouble. These days, it seems like everyone is offended by everything. But is that actually true? Or have we just changed the way that we speak? Have we changed the way we interpret information? So we're going to chat about that today on the podcast. Let's go.
Love me or hate me, God knows you made it when he lit his eyes on me.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to another edition of the This Baby Gal podcast. I'm your host, Rogan. Really happy to have you with me. For those of you who don't know, on my platform I do social commentary and reaction videos. I encourage my audience to have private conversations in public. Before we get into today's episode, I want to say a huge thank you to all of you who sent me well wishes in the comments section of my last video. I have been battling a cold. I still am battling a cold, but it's not as bad as it was before. So thank you so much for that. And I also want to say a special welcome to everybody who is watching from the DMV. I live in DC, and of course my family back home in the Bahamas, and all my listeners back home in the Bahamas. And I have to thank in particular one of my faithful listeners on my podcast. I don't know your name because it doesn't come up, but it says that you're from Bastrop, Texas. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. I always see your comments. I see every single one of the fan mail that you send to me. So thank you very much. And I really appreciate your support. So with that being said, let's get into today's episode. So this has been my question for a while, and it especially revved up these past few weeks. And the question is, when did everybody become so sensitive, soft, feelings getting hurt every second of the day? You crack a simple joke online and all of a sudden there's a 12-paragraph think piece. You give your opinion on Instagram, it could be on the most benign thing, and all of a sudden someone is bashing you. Now, I'm not talking about extreme cases like we've witnessed in the past few weeks where someone was murdered. We're talking about Charlie Kirk, who was assassinated, and people were gloating and celebrating. Of course, that's going to ruffle feathers. That's going to piss people off. I'm talking about something extremely benign. So when people say that folks are just too sensitive these days, what does that actually mean? What does that mean when they say you're just too sensitive? Are they saying that, you know, I can't say the edgy, tasteless, nasty jokes I used to be able to say back in the day, and it was just kind of swept under the carpet, you know, brushed aside? Or is it that they're referring to the minute you say anything, there is this bloodthirstiness in the air for cancel culture and a desire or demanding that you have trigger warnings when something can just upset your delicate sensibilities? Or is it just political correctness? What is it? I've found that there's been a real tug of war over language, identity, and offense. And I think also that there's been this generational shift in the way that we handle criticism. Baby boomers, for example, that was a rough generation. And I feel like they kind of grew up with this sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never harm me mentality. And their mantra, like a lot of people in Gen X, is like, what the hell are you complaining for? Just suck it up. It's a joke. You don't like the joke? Move on. And then you have a lot of like Gen Zs, millennials, I suppose, like the younger millennials and Gen Zs in particular. They are like really into mental health awareness and not being triggered by certain things. If this does not apply to you, it doesn't apply to you. So don't say, I'm Gen Z, if it doesn't apply to you, it doesn't fit, leave it alone. I almost said it must have quit. Just leave it alone. This is for the folks who identify as Gen Z, who come online and say, oh, my mental health is being stretched to the limit because people said something about this person, and I feel hit in the crossfire by that. But my point is, we have these different groups, these baby boomers, these Gen Xers, these Gen Zers, who have very different ideologies, very different viewpoints about what's acceptable. That's going to be completely different for each group. I think about how comedy has changed. If you grew up listening to Richard Pryor or Red Fox or Eddie Murphy, who were raw, it's going to hit a little different from, what's his name, Gabriel Iglesias? But they were raw. And Bernie Mac and all these different people who were in some respects very unapologetic about what they had to say. And you have a new crop of people who don't get that type of humor. They want more soft humor, more docile humor, more we respect your feelings humor, and they'll gravitate towards certain comedians like maybe Gabriel Iglesias or something like that. But comedy has had to change in such a major way. So just take a listen to some of the comedians who weigh in to talk about like what they've had to change and how it's affected them.
It's too hard to entertain a country whose ears are so brittle. Motherfuckers are so sensitive, the whole country is turned into bitch-ass niggas.
There's cancel culture everywhere. Are you worried about that?
No, I'm not scared. I just feel like there's no place in comedy for that. On the stages where you should be able to say what you want to say.
Yeah.
And if I say something that you don't like, you can't cancel me.
Yeah.
Why? For what? What did I do to you? I'm just speaking my mind.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of doing stand-up comedy. You get to say what you're feeling and what you're thinking.
Yeah.
And sometimes what you're thinking.
You said, as a comic, I believe there's no such thing as too soon and there's no such thing as too far. I don't believe there's a line.
There isn't, not in comedy. I don't believe there's a line. I am appalled at anybody who cancels, doxes, prevents anybody from practicing this art form. You don't have to like it. You can be offended by it.
There are some folks who are like, it's actually progress that comedians aren't able to say the jokes today that they were able to say 20, 30 years ago. They look at that as progress. And there are folks who are like, no, the fact that we're being censored in some respects is not cool, and it's not progress. It's regression, and it's showing that people have become too fragile. So I don't know, maybe it's a combination of the two. I do believe that some people are incredibly fragile, but I also realize that some jokes just, back in the day, it's not that they were acceptable. It's just that people didn't have a voice to be able to say, no, I don't like that you're saying this. I don't like that you think this is okay. And they would just remain quiet. There are a lot of folks who will be like, I didn't like those jokes, but we were living in a time, like if you said something about not liking the jokes, people would attack you. And now, like I always tell you on this channel, when the pendulum swings, it swings wide. So one minute you have like these extremes where you can say and do whatever you want. And then on this side, it's like completely restricted and you're constantly monitored and censored. And so that's why we have to really work to find a balance. But that's what's happening right now. In this world, it takes all types of people to make the world go around. And if that type of comedy is not for you, then don't watch that type of comedy. And to be honest with you, that's where I land too, because it's like, if I know a certain comedian is going to rile me up and I don't like what they say, I'm just not going to watch, but I'm not going to advocate for them to be canceled. I'm not.
There's this whole thing nowadays about not offending people and people feeling uncomfortable. In the States, is a big thing with sort of target words and safe zones. People don't want to hear anything, a word that they don't like.
How arrogant are you to think that you deserve to go through life with no one ever saying anything that you don't agree with or like?
I think more than anything, the internet changed everything. Because there used to be a time when you could tell a joke and it would stay in the room. Going back to comedy, you know, we didn't have these smartphones and that sort of thing, right? So you would go to a comedy show and you would hear it, and then the most you could do is go back and say to someone, oh, he said this and he said that, but they didn't hear it in real time. Now people are sneaking in their cameras and listening to it. So, you know, the joke is no longer in the room. It's now on TikTok, and it's being parsed through by many people, millions of people who may not have gotten the full context or don't understand your humor or whatever. And so now you're being condemned publicly. And that happens so much with entertainers. It happens a lot with politicians. Every joke that you say now becomes public fodder. It's screenshot and kept in perpetuity. So you can put something on Twitter, for example, cracking a joke at something, and someone screenshots that. You can delete it, but it's there forever. That digital trail doesn't go anywhere. How many times have we seen a viral tweet get backlash? Many times. And then all of a sudden it's just not personal. The person is so offended that it now becomes performative. They get online and they wax poetic about, oh my God, I'm just so hurt by. They might not have even known you. They might not have even known you, known anything about you, but they take that one clip, that one whatever, and they just run with it. It happens even on my channel. All the time. You know, there could be people who have been subscribers or followers or viewers or whatever for a long time, and all of a sudden I say something that they disagree with, and in my mind it could be the most benign thing, or it could just be something that I'm very firm on, and all of a sudden they're quick to unsubscribe, they're quick to run away. And it's like, I've always prided myself on being a platform that encourages conversation more than anything, you know, whether you agree with me or disagree with me. But I don't understand folks like that, and so their sensitivities are so heightened that they just cannot be in that space, even though all along when they were agreeing with you, they were there. So the problem for me isn't about sensitivity, it's about how we respond to it. How do you respond when someone says something that irritates you, or, you know, that makes you a bit sensitive? Are you just someone who is willing to walk away, unsubscribe, cancel the person, try to get them in trouble, try to dox them? Is that what you're doing? Then you're ridiculously sensitive and you're probably slightly insane, because that's not the way things are handled. So that's weird. And I also think we need to focus more on education versus outrage. You know, as a content creator, I cannot tell you how many times someone will come across my channel, parse through my statements or my comments, take it completely out of context, don't understand that it's a continuation from something else, and they just go with it. And it's like, you don't even get the full context. And I think this is why, for me, it's very important, before I just react to things, to stop, to watch things in their entirety before I just start like yapping at the mouth and then give my opinion. Some people don't do that. A lot of people don't do that. They just jump up and have an opinion. And I like to hear things in their full context. I want to know what was said from start to finish before I jump in and say I don't agree or I agree. So the question for me is, well, when did this sensitivity really start? Probably we've always been pretty sensitive, but just kept it under wraps. But I felt like this rise of the political correctness that really permeated the 80s and 90s really just started it all off. And then with the explosion of social media, like in the 2010s, it really took wings. Every single voice, every single opinion was amplified. And I've always been of the mindset that we as human beings weren't meant to know what everyone thinks, and especially what they think about us. We're not meant to know all of that. We're not supposed to know that you hate us. We're not supposed to know that you think we're ugly. We're not supposed to know that you think that we're overweight or unattractive and all that stuff. And now, you know, the keyboard and, you know, your phone have given people a lot of moxie. You know, so now they go online and they say and do whatever they want, and it's crazy. Anyway, just drop your comments down below and let me know what you think. Do you think that we've gotten more sensitive, or do you think that we're just more aware now? Because it could be a combination of both. It could be one or the other. I don't know. I feel like it's a combination of both. I think people are more aware now, and they've found their voice, and they can speak up and say things are hurtful to them, or they don't like certain things. But I also believe that we have the choice to say, I don't want to listen to this person anymore. I don't want to, deal with this person anymore. That's your right. People have come across my channel and say they don't like me anymore. They don't want to follow anymore. And I have to live with that. Some stuff is very valid and some stuff I feel is just weird. But drop your comments down below. Try not to cancel me. Let me know what you think. Oh, follow me on my blog, thisbabygal.com. If you are listening to this podcast and want to watch, please go to youtube.com/thisbabygal and watch the video. If you are watching the video and you don't want to really watch, you want to listen while you're on your jog, then please go to Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or everywhere else that you get your podcast. And what else? Sign up for the newsletter. Go into my description box and you will find all the information there for my newsletter. And what else is there? If you want to contribute to this channel financially, please become a regular contributor by becoming a member, a channel member, or you can buy me a coffee, buy me a drink, buy me a pizza, I don't do drugs, so what else you could buy me? Buy me toothpaste, buy me whatever. Everything is down below in the description box, and I will see you all in my next episode. Snoop, don't try, sue me for that. Bye. Toodles.